Now, going back to the, again, this is 1/4 by 1.5. Going back to managing flat stock, I really like this Monkey Tail. I've heard it called a bunch of different things. I know it's a Monkey Tail. Essentially, we gave you lots of length there. I think it's like 6 inches, somewhere around about there. This allows you to adjust it to a whole bunch of different material sizes. I have a set in my home shop which holds 2 by 3/4 inch, so it's like super wide jawed. Don't ask me why, I can't remember, but it was needed at one point or other. Generally, when I do the first bend is that downward bend here. I generally do them together, so I'll put them like this, heat them up. I might put a rivet in just to hold it, or I might put a clamp on over here so that when I pull back, I'm bending at the same location each time. If it's a little off, it's not a big deal, but I will use this one as a sister to help me align the rest of that over there. The rest of it's done in the vise, forming on the vise. It's nice to be able to do this one with an oxyacetylene torch, but again, if you don't have it, you can do it with forge just as easy. So I want to align these two up. As I said earlier, I would typically do them together at the same time. That way I can just pull back and do that primary bend. Gets a little fooey like that, we'll just flatten her up. A little straighten in the shaft. Push back. We're going to give it a little check, make sure that we're close on location of that bend, not far off. Just want to turn that down a tad more, but it's within a 1/16 or so. That's a nice thing about bending them side by side. And for measurement, I didn't give a measurement on that fold. For measurement on it, I think I did it about at the halfway point. Yeah, fulcrumed at about 3 inches. So about in the center. If you had to go real wide with that leg, you might creep it back a little bit. And you can do the calculation on the distance to go all the way around. This is actually going to be a little long, so when the other one comes over here, right, that tail's going to be binding up with it. So we trim off that extra material in here anyway. Usually do that with a hacksaw. But these should allow you to have plenty to get up to even as wide as 3 inches if you wanted to get really crazy with it. So now I'm going to heat this up and lay it on my original piece of material, which is cold, thankfully. I've got a Sharpie line down the center, and the reason I wanted to have that half pre-made is so that you can see how it comes together. So what I do is I lay the material with that line right on the underside of the Sharpie. It'll then go into the vise facing up this way, and I'll fold it over, get it to 90, and then we'll probably go like slightly past 90 in the vise, and then we'll turn it over, flatten up the last of that tail. Then we can come in, trim off the excess, put the two halves together, and do a little dog leg in the mid-drift here so that they will accept the thickness of the material. And remember, the dog leg only has to be as much as half of the material that you're putting in between it. So in this case, we're only going to offset by 1/8 of an inch. So that will set up like that in the vise, and all should be well. Set it up exactly the same as the other one. So I line up here, I'll be hammering it over to that right hand side, and if I can hold everything true. Do you have a C-clamp? Or a vice grip? I can do it with a flat bit pair of tongs. I just remembered that yeah, that should work. So you see on this side here, we're running to the right-hand side of the Sharpie, but the reins on this side are on the left-hand side of the Sharpie and slightly coming uphill. So that's that little bit of taper. This is nicely set up. We were going to try and freehand it, but it's so much easier to do it like this. Then we can come in with the C-clamp when it's hot, clamp it down, and then flip it sideways in the vise to bend that piece across. So then I'll release and lock it down like this in order to fold it over. All right? Tricks and methods for doing these things. The first one's going to feel like your old thumbs, and you'll figure out a method to do it, and then you'll finally make a good pair. And in about 6 months or so, when you suddenly want to do a different size, you'll have forgotten exactly how you did it, and then you'll be trying to figure out how to do it all over again. But it's what it is. Or you go to a new shop like I am today. But that feels good. I'm happy where that is. Ready to clamp down, get everything in position. That's my student notes. Here we go. This should go a little smoother. Nicely in. Get my alignment good. That looks nice. Happy with that. A little toasty on your fingers. There we go. Sideways, and I want to clamp it into that bend right there so it doesn't roll around. Right, and then awesome. And then take it to the anvil and flatten that bit down the rest of the way. It should go. We'll find out. Down that way if needs be. Again, don't get it over tight. Your last hammer blows should be top and bottom so that it will relieve the pressure slightly this way. If you leave it pinched this way, it'll cool down and it'll be so tight on your material that you can't get it on and off. Should be good. Remember, put a little marking on your material so you don't grab a hold of the hot end, and if you're done with it, you can see that thing smoking. Throw it in your bucket of water. Most of your bad burns are going to be small moments of laxing concentration like that one, and they always suck. They're always at the end of the day. So that's looking good. I'm happy with that. I want to trim that tail so where the other leg comes down, that tail is basically going to converge there. So it's going to be a little trim across here. I sometimes do them at an angle, I sometimes do them straight, and I generally use a porter band, but you can use an angle grinder, hacksaw, whatever you got. You can chisel cut it even if you're hating yourself that much. Cool it off. Alright, the glass is cleaned up. So if I have a look at these, as they bind together at the moment, you see how the tails get in the way, right? They're not going to allow you to close, and you kind of want to close to parallel. So that gives me the lineup of really where I should be trimming them. So if that's parallel through there, my trim cut should be kind of here-ish, and the same around about there on that one. Which is more or less slightly above parallel there. There we go, those will close up nicely there. They're not going to interfere with each other. If you wanted to get really crazy with it, you could put a little bit of 45 to mesh into that, so you could actually kind of over close compared to the material that you set it up with. If you can get that nice adjustment, I've found in my shop, I have them set at inch, inch and a quarter, inch and a half, inch and 3/4, 2 inch. That covers the main gamut of that 1/4 inch range. If you have that little cutout, it'll give you that extra 1/4 inch of adjustment if you want to. But those look good. We now just have to address the dog leg here in order to allow the material in the middle. Feel free to go ahead and deblow that on a grinder or something like that. So I figured I may as well knock in the 45. I'll do that on the grinder. Just pop in a little bit of a bevel to that inside corner. That'll just help us mesh up a little bit nicer. Knock on the edges. If you look at that now, it just kind of meshes a little sweeter into that portion. Time to rivet them up. That's where it always gets confusing, like trying to figure out what that mesh is. Don't do that, don't work very well, right? It's always crossed on themselves. I've had so many folks when we're making these go, 10,000 ways to put them together. Yourself all nicely set up. Right, first thing, I want to put a dog leg into these jaws to allow for the material to come in, which will occur right here. So that'll be a downward strike and then a little bit of a back strike, just to create that little kink right there. Don't have to be perfect, but it helps get it out of alignment before I throw the rivet in. I'm going to do both of those warm to make my life easy. Again, you can do it in the vise to make yourself a little easier. Pop it in the vise like this, knock it that way, then come across, push it back again. Kind of depends on what you're comfortable with. I'm super comfortable at the anvil and just being able to give it a little knock here and there. I often do that dog leg just with the cross peen, and the cross peen will actually make the material do this. So by striking right there, it'll just kind of kick down and it won't disalign the jaw too hard. Let's see if it works for you. Little dog leg, right about there. I think that might be about enough. So see how it's kicked center line, that touch of a push down, that should be okay. Alright, pop that one there, rivet's still on the floor. If you wanted to, and you had a deep enough bucket, you could actually cool it off all the way into the rivet plate. That wouldn't be a problem. Make sure I'm doglegging it the correct way. So hook coming upwards. Looking nice, a little straighten on the reins. Push down there. Looking good. And I'm just eyeballing, let's see if I can get you to see that shot. I'm eyeballing this inside line into the center of that V. Alright, those don't look too bad. Cool. Go ahead and pop that rivet in. When you've got a hot one like this, try not to burn your fingertips. Not going to comply. Set the reins slightly wide, set it. And already you can see that dog leg's working real nicely, and I should be able to get that material into that throat without too much problem. If you're worried about the jaws getting overly hot, you can always cool off the jaws Like if you've got particularly fragile jaw back, it'll just reduce it from overheating. Get that rivet in. By the way, I have no idea if rounding out the head on these makes any difference, but I like the way it looks. I'm gonna ease this up a little bit, give it a little wiggle. There we go. Wiggle it, don't let the reins get so bent up when you're doing this. It just means that you have to straighten them again. I did bend that one a little bit. I'm just really worried about that jaw for the moment. I'm going to get the bar stock nicely into the throat back here. Close it up. Feel pretty happy about that. That doesn't look bad. I've got a nice opening back there. I'm not going to close it down real tight this way, but this way. If you do, it's going to bind up so much. That feels pretty good. I'm going to close them just a little bit. I'm getting a little bit of interference on the back end of my reins. So I'm going to open up the back end of my reins, push my jaws in slightly. Likewise, if they were too close together, you could push them the other way. Good. Feel happy about that. I've got to sort out my reins a little bit better. I'm going to close them just a tad more. This is just me again being fickle. That's better. Now I can sort out that rein. See, I slightly overbent it, so I'll straighten that up. Remember, it's just a straight line, so I just place it there. I'm going to cut with wax. Same on the other side. And you want to get your reins to a width that is comfortable for you. If they're super wide, they're not going to be awesome to work with. Where I kick everything onto the floor. A little bow there, knock that out again. So nice thing with these, often with like edgewise tongs, if you leave this bit here long enough, it will allow you to grab your material this way and pull it backwards and forwards, as well as be able to turn it this way and get it nicely into the flat of your jaw. Those are good and stable. I like the width of those. I can get a little bit of bone compression in them. The little thing I did talk about on these tongue reins, we actually put a little bit of taper in them. So as you squeeze on them, they behave almost like the links of a bow. So they'll actually compress at the back end more than at the front end. So if you want to put a keeper ring or something like that on there, it's nice. But also when you're squeezing on it, if it's jumping up and down, it's going to reduce that vibration into your hand a little bit. That's something I like in my tongs. I always forge that into mine. So all in all, good pair of edge tongs, monkey tails.